The princess who spent her life in the relentless glare of the public eye died in a speeding car in Paris, apparently trying to evade pursuing photographers.
One secret-laden phone call, 25 minutes long. Could these unheard words between Diana and Charles bring the House of Windsor crashing down? Tonight, we pull back the curtain on Princess Diana's final conversation with the future king, an urgent, late-night plea from Charles to silence her plans to expose Camilla and a trail of royal double-dealing. Why did he warn that speaking out would destroy the very family he was born to lead? What explosive dossiers was Diana ready to share, and who else was listening on that Paris line? Stay with us as we track the hidden recordings, the covert memos, and the chilling stakes that still haunt the monarchy nearly 3 decades later. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. A warm August evening settles over Paris like a stage curtain about to rise. Inside the sumptuous imperial suite of the Ritz, the mood tips between exhilaration and unease. Diana, Princess of Wales, emancipated from official titles yet still the world's most photographed woman, paces the gilded room with a restlessness that feels almost electrical. Outside, camera flashes strobe across gilded balconies, capturing fragments of her silhouette as she leans against a window to watch the crowd swell on Place Vendôme. Reporters bark questions she cannot hear, but their tone is unmistakable. Where is she heading tonight? Is the engagement ring a rumor or fact? Will this glamorous summer romance with Dodi Fayed cross the threshold into scandal or into history? Diana exhales, lifts the receiver of a discreet hotel landline, and dials a number that still carries the weight of crown and country. What begins as a private attempt at conversation will soon echo across the monarchy, the British press, and ultimately the last conscious moments of her life. The line rings once, twice, then a curt, familiar voice answers from Scotland. At Balmoral, Prince Charles shelters behind thick stone walls while Highland winds scrape against leaded windows. He is surrounded by advisors who have spent decades polishing every public word he utters, yet tonight he has no script. He abandons the royal we, drops courtly niceties, and addresses Diana by the single syllable that still shimmers with memory, D. Outside Balmoral's gates, a handful of tourists idle hopes of glimpsing a tartan-clad heir. Inside, Charles clutches a cordless phone as though it might detonate. For months he has steeled himself to navigate a calculated public unveiling of Camilla, first as companion, then as wife, eventually as queen. Everything has been plotted on spreadsheets of public sentiment and press coverage ratios. But there is one variable nothing can control, and she is on the other end of the line, breathing hard, determined to tell her side of history. Diana cuts straight through formalities. She informs Charles she has spoken with a journalist about granting what she calls the final word. She warns him that the interview will pull no punches about adultery, manipulation by courtiers, and Camilla Parker Bowles's influence over constitutional decisions. Diana is no longer the shy teenager fumbling for media approval. She is 36, armed with humanitarian gravitas, and she understands the modern monarchy depends as much on narrative as on lineage. She knows that a single explosive truth, from Charles's own mouth or, failing that, from hers, could force a crisis of succession. Charles's knuckles blanch around the phone. In the adjacent corridor, a valet pauses outside the library door, hearing the prince say something that is simultaneously a plea and a warning. If you speak about Camilla, you'll blow up this family, and yourself. The phrase is not delivered in menace, but in desperation. Charles has spent 2 decades negotiating the dual demands of private affection and public duty. Camilla, once dismissed as the third person in his marriage, is now the anchor of his emotional life, the proof that happiness is still possible after duty derailed youth. Camilla's defenders claim she steadies him. Her detractors view her as the stubborn symbol of everything archaic in the institution, elitism, extramarital entitlement, whispered corridors of privilege. Charles knows that if Diana exposes the full chronology of their affair, letters swapped before marriage, clandestine phone calls recorded by tabloids, gifts carefully hidden from newsrooms, public outrage could calcify into widespread republicanism. Even a modern monarchy can survive only so many revolutions of public opinion. Charles needs time. He needs silence. What he does not need is Diana's hypnotic ability to elicit sympathy whenever she speaks candidly. Yet Diana has her own ledger of grievances. She remembers wedding night tears, overheard calls to Camilla from the honeymoon palace, the famous engraving inside Camilla's bracelet, G and F, Their nickname